Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Morey IV, of course, who drives USF 2000 for J. Howard Driver Development. And how are you, bud?
I'm very good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Doing well. So let's just start off by recapping. Before we recap St. Pete, kind of talk about just experience. What was it like to be out in a USF 2000 car?
Well, to be in a race for the first time was obviously super, super exciting. I've had plenty of time in the car, so to finally get some proper racing in, I was very, very happy to be a part of, and the whole weekend went very well. So it was everything was very good.
Okay, so let's recap St. Pete. How do you think it went? Just kind of take me through the weekend.
All right, so we got there. I believe we showed up on Wednesday. Just kind of walked around, saw the track. Thursday we did our track walk and got to actually be on the track and see, okay, the roads, obviously it's a street, so the surfaces are much different than what you'd expect to find on a track like Road America or Mid Ohio or whatever track you want to think of. But the road is it's crowned, so the water drains off it on the street. So that was one of the bigger things that I found out there. I didn't know about that. So the track walk was super helpful in helping us find specific things on track like that. So then Friday, if I'm not mistaken, yes, Friday, we had our first practice session and then qualified later in the day. So that was a bit different than what I'm used to. Usually in F4 last year, we had usually 2 or 3 practice sessions. So having one, it was kind of like, okay, it's time to go. This is it. We're going to go out. Got to find where my breaking points are, where I can push, where I can't push, all the marks you need to find. And through the track walk with Jay, it was very thorough, so I was able to pick up on it pretty quickly. Heading into qualifying later that day, it was later in the day, so the track was a bit warmer, a bit more. Home car was a bit loose out there with the heat and everything. But qualifying went pretty well. I'd say we had a lot of red flags. I think I got caught out a little bit by that, but ultimately, I just didn't find the pace I needed to in qualifying. I wasn't my braking. I just kept messing up in some of the corners. So started a bit farther back in the field than I wanted to. I ended up qualifying 16th, which obviously I wasn't super thrilled with. But for it only having one practice session, one quali, I was okay with it. I figured I can make up some places in the race. I know how to overtake and things, so I knew where to overtake and with the track walk with Jay and the team and everything. So rolling into Saturday, then our first race later in the afternoon, I'd start 16th. Lap one, I made up some places going into turn one. Had a pretty good start, not like a rocket ship start by any means, but it was pretty good. Made up a few spots. Getting into the first lap, then on turn four, I was trying to defend around the outside. Someone was coming up my inside, and I had known, okay, I can defend here because then I get inside line into turn five. So I stuck the car on the outside, and somebody collided with the wall right in front of me on the outside. So I had to really get the car on the brakes so I wouldn't run into the back of them. And in doing so, then everybody that I had passed repassed me on the inside because I'm stuck behind the accident in front of me. So I believe it was a 2 car wreck. So I was 19th or 20th by turn four just because I got held up by that. Was able to come back through the race though, kept the nose clean. Didn't have any big mistakes or anything that ended the car in pieces or anything, so that was good. And was able to finish 15th. So made up made up some places. Only had one from qualifying, but through the course of the race, it was quite a few places I had to come back for that. So, and then Sunday we had much better result. The race. So to start the race for Sunday, I would start 17th per the times of the first race, like lap times. Wasn't super thrilled with that either. So I knew my goal for St. Pete was to be in the top 10. So knowing that okay, this is one of the most difficult tracks to overtake at, we're gonna have to do some serious work to then get to my goal in this race. So starting 17th, I was like, okay, it's definitely possible. I saw Simon Sykes do an awesome job overtaking a bunch of people in the Saturday race. So I knew it was certainly possible. It was just how and when and where. So started the race, had a really good start. Got up, I think, I don't know, 3, 4 places maybe by turn one. Um, and just ran a super clean race, to be honest. I did make one mistake and went off in the runoff in turn four. Um, but head down and pass those cars back that I'd then lost the positions to. And to be completely honest with you, I didn't even know I was in 10th when I crossed the line. My team came across and said, "Hey, that's P10. Great job. We'll see you back in the pits." And I was like, "Oh, all right then." I'm happy to hear that. So first weekend, the goal was, like I just said, was top 10. So debut weekend, I was very happy to be able to achieve my goal, and we'll go for a bit more in Sebring, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Sebring and what's it take to get to get around there?
It takes a lot of it's a very physical track, to be honest, especially the kind of middle sector, like I wouldn't say middle sector actually, kind of the end of the second sector into the third sector. Obviously, there's a lot of bumps. Everybody talks about the Sebring's bumps. They're not kidding about the bumps at Sebring, but I think that's something that makes the track pretty special. And the final corner, turn 17, there's a really massive bump right about where you get on throttle. So you kind of hit that and the car gets a little sideways on you. But I think that's all part of the experience there. And it takes overtaking there. I think it's certainly possible. We've had me and some of my teammates have kind of simulated some races around there. So it just takes a lot of guts, I think, on a track like that, turn one especially. Um, Very small braking and then 100 and whatever miles an hour on the corner. So it's a very gutsy track and a very bumpy track, but I think it'll be good racing there.
Yeah. Um, just going to a road course. What's that going to be like? And obviously, it's you tested there, so what are you feeling coming into Sebring?
So I feel a bit more comfortable than I felt going into St. Pete, because St. Pete was my first street race and my first USF 2000 race. Now I've been on, well, last year I raced on 4 different road courses, so I'm a bit more familiar with how a road course works and whatnot. And we spent days at Sebring learning the track and how to be fast at the track. I think we've turned well over 300 laps at Sebring in the last 3 months or so. So I think going in there, my confidence is very high, and especially after the timing, they timed us at the last test being an official test, and we were quite quick. The whole team was. So I have very high hopes, and my expectations are high, and I'm feeling good because I know what to expect at a track like that. So I'm excited.
So, okay, name a couple things that you need to work on heading into next week, heading into Sebring, I should say.
So Sebring, there's a lot of things. I mean, a driver can never be perfect at every corner and every. I mean, it's certainly nice to be. I won't give away too many things. There's still a couple corners around there I need to work on. I'm not gonna be super specific. I don't want anyone to know any weak spots of how to overtake me or whatnot. Overall the track I feel very strong at. I feel very confident in overtaking there. Defending is certainly a strong suit there. So there's a couple things I need to work on. Nothing massive, nothing that's gonna slow me down half a second a lap or anything. But um, as something I'm working on is always refining brake shape. So that's something I'll still be working on. I think that's something all drivers that are working on, at least that I know of. I'm sure there's some drivers out there that'll say my brake shape's very good, and I'm sure that it is. That's just something personally I need to work on a little bit more. So I think that's something to be focused on, but that'll always be improving. I'm still improving that. So it's getting a lot better though, I'd say. So
Yeah. Um, okay, so let's and final thing, how do you just kind of take me through how you mentally get ready for a race, like right before, like about you're about to get in the car, like what do you do?
so right before I actually probably think it's a bit funny. So right before the last race in Sebring, I threw my AirPods in and listened to Freebird by Leonard Skinner, of course. Um, and I kind of try to think of it as not a racing situation. Like sometimes I would, and F4, this would happen to me. I'd get really like jittery in the car before the race would start. And I've just been trying to keep it more mellow with myself, being like, okay, it's just another couple laps we'll go do. There's going to be a lot of cars out there. We're going to pass a lot of them, hopefully, if all things go right. And just kind of try to calm myself down and visualize the track in my mind, where all my braking points are, my downshifting, my upshifting. It's a big mental thing for me, is just really trying to focus in on the track before I hit it, and understanding that yes, it is a race, but at the same time I need to keep myself calm and relaxed and ready for what's ahead.
For sure. All right, well, Al, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck at Sebring, and we'll also talk to you after Sebring.
All righty, that sounds awesome. Hey, thank you very much, buddy. I'll see you soon.